Hello, so today's question is, how much does custom software development cost? The short answer is, how long is a piece of string? But the long answer is, there are a number of factors that affect it, and I'll hopefully be able to kind of give you some pointers that will give you an idea. So the first one is the number of platforms. That might be desktop, web, iOS and Android. If you're building for those, whether that's mobile, tablet, both. So here you just need to do your user research, understand what platforms your users are going to be on, and make sure you really only build for those. Also look at potentially building cross-platform. So there are some technologies that allow you to build once and deploy to web, iOS and Android. They have their pros and cons, but consider those when you're looking at it. So next one is app features. How many pages there are. Obviously, 1,000 pages in an app, a web app, is going to be a lot more than 2. Hopefully, there's some economy of scale when you get up to those numbers, but just bear that in mind. Next one is kind of complexity. In those pages or any functionality that the app does. Obviously, the more complex the app, the longer it's going to take to do, and therefore the higher cost. And then known and unknowns. So look at what has been built before, what hasn't. Generally, unknowns take longer, and generally when we're building a quote, we'll add a contingency percentage per thing. And some things that we've done 100 times, we'll put a low contingency, and things that are higher, we'll put a higher contingency. So next one is timeline. So at a basic level, if you're in a hurry, and you need to cram more time into a shorter period, you're looking at overtime, things like that. But also, the other element is if you rush, sometimes you have to redo. So that would potentially push the cost up in the end. Next one is Waterfall versus Agile. So Waterfall's a more traditional project management methodology where you plan start to finish in what's called a Gantt chart. So you understand, I'm going to do this first, then this, then this. And you usually get to a pretty firm timeline and also budget when you start. The alternative is Agile, which is a more modern way of running projects where everything's broken up into a weekly or 2-weekly sprint. And really all you're doing is looking at the sprint you're on and the next one. And you're trying to manage budget across the whole project to make sure that you can come in on time. The challenge there is because you're only focusing on right now, you may spend too much of the budget by the time you realize and need to then finish quite a lot of the project. The next one is updates and maintenance. So once the project's gone live, what updates and maintenance do you need? What support do you need? Whether that's kind of server support, user support, or tweaks and changes to the app. So generally what we suggest is look at the project over, say, a year or 2, hopefully covering a big chunk of time after, because that is just going to be there. It isn't as simple as saying, oh, we're finished, done. Look at the whole piece. But really, to give you some figures, so we're in the UK, so in pounds, a small web or mobile app might cost 10 to 15,000 pounds, medium-sized 40 to 70, 80, but you can go all the way to millions if you want to or need to. So that gives you some range. The other option, one thing to think about, is whether you build an MVP. So instead of going for the whole project, you aim to just produce what's called a minimal viable product first. And that allows you to prove the theory, potentially solve any of the little problems that you'd need to, that might blow out the timeline. And it allows you to get out in the world to learn, in a real running environment, what people actually need and what they use, rather than guessing or even doing user research. But there's no better way than actually having people use it. Hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, post a comment and we'll look to get back to you. Thank you.